Hello everyone, this is Millie Globe. Welcome to my channel and don't forget to leave a thumbs up and to subscribe. So let's talk about what's going around in TikTok, and I found this conversation and I thought it was so interesting to share. So there's a question going around right now, especially on TikTok, that asks, when was America ever great? And on the surface, that sounds like a simple historical question, but the way this conversation is being used matters, because too often it quietly turns into something else, a way to shift blame, to suggest that Black people, Latino people, Asian people, like let's just say immigrants or anyone outside of whiteness, are the reason America lost its greatness. So let's slow down and let's talk about it, yo. And when people say make America great again, the first question shouldn't just be was it great. It should be great for whom, because America has never been experienced the same way by everyone living in it. So guys, watch this video until the end to get the real story. And yeah,
I want you to tell me exactly the point in history where America was great.
It's
a
funny.
black man.
Point to me a time in history where America wasn't great. Tell me where
The
it
birth
started.
of America.
No, point in America where
country
America
was
wasn't great.
built on murder and thievery and deception. What do you mean?
Now let me explain this to you real quick. This is for everybody to listen to. Everybody always have this perception that we shouldn't acknowledge America as being great. America started at a certain point and grew and came better over time. No country that you know of was 100% perfect at the foundation. No country.
You
no
didn't answer my
country in the
question.
world. No countries in Africa, no countries in Europe. You can name it. Everybody started at a certain point, and it became greater
You
over
didn't
time.
answer my question.
Ever since you've been alive, America has been the greatest it's ever been.
You think so?
100%, brother. You can name somewhere else that's better than America. And why don't you live there?
I'm not sure.
I know you're not sure because they don't exist.
Were they?
Show me somewhere else that's as diverse as America.
Make America great again. Make America great again. Okay, pinpoint where in history America was great. Tell me what exact time you would like to go back to. Okay, let's go back to 1776 when the Declaration of Independence said that all men were created equal, unless you were a slave, right? Everybody deserved freedom and liberty unless you were Black in America, or unless you were a woman if we're being historically accurate. We weren't so great then, were we? Okay, let's fast forward to the Civil War, 1865, when half of our country decided to secede because they did not want to free slaves. And it wasn't like the North necessarily wanted to free slaves either. Abraham Lincoln did not free the slaves because he thought it was morally righteous. He did it because he knew it would hurt the South's economy. And it did, because who was doing the work that was making the Southern states money? Surprise, surprise, the slaves. Or should we go back to the Reconstruction era, when millions of slaves were freed and not given any of the promises that the American government promised them? No 40 acres, no mule, no way to create generational wealth. Were we great then? We were definitely great when the 14th Amendment passed, though, right? When African American men finally got the right to vote and birthright citizenship extended to the descendants of freed slaves. We were great then, right? Because in the South, they weren't still barring African Americans from voting through literacy tests and the grandfather clause, and so many ways that we probably don't even know about. Were we great then? Let us not forget, during this time, 1865 to be exact, is when the KKK became an official organization. We were great then, right? We were amazingly amazing then. Okay, so if we weren't great then we must have been great during the Jim Crow era, right? Our country was amazing after the Plessy v. Ferguson Supreme Court decision. Separate but equal. I know you guys would rather forget this, but your ancestors quite literally made it a crime for African Americans to drink from the same water fountain as white Americans, to go to the same schools, to ride on the same buses. This is less than a fucking 100 years ago. Okay, so if we weren't great in all of those past times, then we must have been great during the Civil Rights era, when the Brown v. Board of Education Supreme Court decision finally stated that segregation was unconstitutional. We were great then. We must have been great then, right? Because there was absolutely no pushback from any white Americans who thought that African Americans did not deserve these freedoms and didn't deserve to be in the same spaces as them. After the Civil Rights era, white Americans and Black Americans came together and sung Kumbaya, and there was absolutely no racial injustice anymore, right? I say all of this to say that The slogan, Make America Great Again, is inherently racist because absolutely none of the times that I just described, from the birth of our country till now, has our country been great for people of color, for African Americans, for my community at least. It's not even to talk about all the injustices that happen to Latinos and Asian people, Native Americans, but just for us. In all of these years, America has not been great. I'll end this with saying that the KKK still exists in every single state in the United States. Sundown towns still fucking exist. Black people are still being lynched in our country. When were we great? When have we been a country that's been full of love and harmony and rights for everyone? You guys are lying, or you guys are just fucking racist.
At the beginning, America was great for white men with land and money. Meanwhile, indigenous people were being wiped out, black people were enslaved, and women had no rights. If that's the version of greatness people are pointing to, then we need to be honest about what it was built on. People love to bring up the 1950s too. Strong economy, nice houses, stable jobs, but again, who had access to that? Black families were blocked from buying homes, segregation was legal, Latino workers were exploited, and Asian Americans were still dealing with the trauma of the internment camps. That's greatness. That greatness comes with a lot of people being locked out on purpose. So when people say America used to be great, what they're really saying is that it used to be comfortable for a very specific group of people. And here's the part that really bothers me. Whether this country struggles economically, politically, socially, the blame always gets pushed downwards. Instead of talking about corporations hoarding wealth, wages not keeping up, healthcare being unaffordable, and politicians failing people, the finger gets pointed at immigrants, at black communities, at anyone who doesn't fit a narrow idea of what America looks like. That's not new, that's a pattern. This country has always blamed the most vulnerable instead of the system in power. Enslaved people were blamed for economic problems, Chinese immigrants were blamed for job loss, Black communities were blamed for poverty created by racist policies. Same story, different decades. And the truth is, immigrants didn't break America, diversity didn't break America, black people demanding justice didn't break America. What actually broke things is greed, racism, and policies that protect profit over people. So, when was America great? This is something we need to ask ourselves.
Something the right will never answer for me.
This ought to be good. Every time a liberal tells you what the right will never answer for them, I know it's about to be some bullshit.
When was America great? Not looking for some long...
Ooh, pick me. When was America great? I'll tell you right now. Slavery. That's the last time America was great. Because America at that time was black and white. Not only was it black and white, it was right and wrong. Then after slavery ended, it was right and wrong. It didn't matter what color you were, it was right and wrong. Everybody just wanted to exist. It's the greatest country to be born in. When my people was born in America, they were born into something that had value. I look at all these people that come to America and leave their shitty ass countries. They come here because they see what white America and black America have built. It has provided something that they could not get in their country. That's why they were jealous of us and they came here. So when you ask when was America great last, I bring it back to the first time America was great. When George Washington came to America, when the Pilgrims came to America, when my ancestors came on boats to America, that's when it was great. I don't know why this is controversial. I wouldn't have wanted to be born in any other country except this one. Hope that helps. Skedaddle.
Rambling response. Tell me the years.
As a 50-year-old who just voted blue for the first time, I've thought a lot about, in my life, when was America great? And I would say that probably the best or the greatest time in America was between the years of about 2008 to 2016. And now, when those times were going in my life, like I said, I was a Republican. So I never attributed the greatness of our society at that time with like the growth of technology. We were seeing, streaming apps. We were seeing you were able to invest on apps. Like that system was changing. It was easier to get revenue streams at that time. Gas was cheap. You could get a house relatively cheap in those times. And I never, at that time, just thought it had anything to do with the presidency. But I would say that that's exactly what it was about. So when America truly was the best, at least in my life, and I'm 50 years old, was when Obama was in office. And like I said, I never attributed it to that until now, when I realize, and I've seen this since then, right? It has not been great since Trump has even tried to be president. And then the 4 years we had him wasn't great. 4 years after him wasn't great. And now we have another 4 years of things not being great. And so, yeah, those were the great years.
I just wanted to know, where are you from?
Texas.
From America, right?
Yeah.
I just want to know, when was America great for us black people?
Right now.
Oh,
Tell you it's great right now.
Really?
Yeah. It ain't great for you?
No, not at all.
How?
I mean, I'm living life.
Looking good. You got clothes on. Look well fed.
But that doesn't mean
Got
it's great.
beautiful hair.
Oh, thank you.
Got your eyeliner on. You looking good. What kind of bag is that? That's a nice little bag there. You look good. America look good for you. If you were eating out of a trash can, I'll tell you something different. America's a great place. I don't understand how we are not acknowledging that. It's great. Look at all these different people out here. Men, women, black, white. You will never see this much diversity anywhere else. It's the greatest place on earth. Everybody can be here and enjoy one another, disagree with each other. We have the freedom of speech, freedom to keep and bear arms. We don't have to worry about the government interfering in our lives for the most part. It's the greatest country ever. And if we don't start acknowledging that, we're going to screw up something good.
So, when people talk about going backwards, making things great like it used to be, there's this fascination with like 1950s Norman Rockwell America, where the predominant culture was very white and very Christian. And there's this obsession with the nuclear family where the dad comes home, single income marriage, wife has dinner ready on the table. And there's a real hearkening to this idea that America used to be great, used to be better than it is. You know what they don't talk about is that America, when it was great, was socialist. 1950, the top tax bracket for personal income in America was 91%. And you know what the corporate tax rate was? It was 50%. You know what the American government did with all this money it was making from taxes? It built an entire interstate infrastructure all across America. Museums, libraries, public infrastructure, things that people are still relying on today. All that stuff that America takes for granted. If we tax corporations more and we tax people more, then they won't do things, they won't grow. Not true. In fact, if you tax corporations more, they don't want to pay taxes. So what do they do with that income? America was never more innovative than when their companies were incentivized to reinvest the profits that they were making back into the company. What do they do now? Stock buybacks. Put more money in the personal hands of the shareholders. And does trickle-down economics work? Well, no, of course it doesn't work. It's been going on for 40, 50 years. It's siphoning wealth from the middle class up the ladder to the top 2%. If you take inflation into account, people are making less on the dollar than they were 50 years ago. Turns out when you give billionaires more money, they don't create better jobs. What they do is they use it to buy assets. And those assets accrue passive wealth, make 5%, outpacing the economy, which only grows about 1 or 2% a year. You can only buy so many yachts, so you start buying more assets, like your home that you used to own, but no longer do. The self-exacerbating feedback cycle. People on the right will tell you that you're a communist when you talk about wealth redistribution. However, wealth redistribution has been going on since the Reagan era, since the Thatcher era. They've been redistributing wealth upwards. So remember that when people talking about America being great, they're talking about America being socialist.
I've asked the question a million times, when was America great, right? Because make America great again. And I think I know when it was great again. So it would make sense that America was great between 2000 and 2004, because that's when George W. got an amazing economy from Clinton. And then, of course, while George W. was in office over those 8 years, his policies crashed the banking system, creating too big to fail. Then we get Obama, who spends 8 years getting the economy back on track. Then he gives the keys over to Trump, right? So from 2016 to 2020, because we're coming out of another Democrat that fixed another Republican's problems, we have a great economy again. So that's when America is great again.
is during Trump's 2016 to 2020. Now, Trump triples the deficit, 27 trillion now versus 9. We hit a wall with COVID, shut down our economy for 2 years. Biden has to come in to now fix Trump's mess. And now he's running on making American great again, assuming going back to 2000, 2004 or 2016 to 2020, both great times in our lives that came after 8 years of a Democrat. So what I see is that they should have waited another 4 years to pick up that 8-year economy that Biden or the Democrats would have fixed, and then they would have made American great again. But you're not going to be able to fix this problem or make it like it was before because nobody has solved those problems for you. So to go back to when it was great in 2016 or 2000, I just don't think it's going to happen because you didn't give the Democrats enough time to actually turn around what he did.
There's a great article in The Atlantic called The Great Resegregation. It came out on the 22nd, and it talks about that Orange Man administration's attacks on DEI are aimed at reversing the civil rights movement. There was an idea that he is just trying to roll back DEI or just trying to roll back the advancements made during Biden, but this is going back further than that. It's trying to erase all of the advancements that have been made by people of color, women, etc. And I want us to get into more slow media, meaning that things that are not just a soundbite, not just a podcast, not just a post or a tweet, but things where real journalists have taken the time to research and ask questions and come up with long form media. So get yourself a subscription to The Atlantic. Some things that really kind of jumped out at me. And he's quoting an official, and he says, "Unfortunately, our entire national ideology is predicated on coddling the feelings of women and minorities and demoralizing competent white men." Now, this analysis is perspective in the sense that it is the exact reverse is true. We are now in the second decade of a years-long temper tantrum sparked by the election of Barack Obama. So many people don't want to say that. So many people don't want to get to that. But I feel, and Adam agrees, that this is all having to do with that. What was most sobering to me, though, was the realization that even with DEI in place, there hasn't been much movement towards true equity and equality anyway. So look at this. It says Hispanic students at elite universities had stalled at percentages far below their share of the student age population. Occupational segregation has remained stagnant since the 90s. Black workers with or without college degrees are concentrated in certain professions, and those professions pay less than those of their white counterparts, despite a rise in Black people obtaining college degrees. Corporate DEI efforts never made much progress on integration to begin with. In part, it says because many of those efforts were more about branding and limiting liability than equal opportunity. So what he's saying is that they were more worried about being sued than they were about creating an environment that was collaborative and bringing everyone to the table. Read the whole article because he goes on to say that schools are still segregated, real estate is still segregated, and we really need to have a conversation about how to do that, how to make real progress.
So, if you're being real, America's greatest moments weren't about exclusion or domination. They were moments of progress, abolishing slavery, civil rights, labor rights, voting rights, and notice who pushes those changes forward: the very people who are now being blamed for America's problem. America has never been great because it was perfect. It's always been great in moments when it tried to be better. So maybe the better question isn't when was America great? Maybe the real question is whether we are willing to make it better now without blaming the people who've been fighting for fairness the whole time. Because anyone telling you that marginalized people are the reason America isn't great, isn't trying to fix the country. They're trying to protect a version of it that was never meant to include everyone. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and to subscribe. I'll see you in my next video.